Welcome to More Than Renovating, a renovate and real estate podcast. Our founder, Belinda Smith, talks to industry experts to provide you with the knowledge and information you need to make renovating for love and profit your reality. Belinda will also chat to some of her Renovation Mastery members who are just everyday people doing extraordinary things, following their passions in the renovation and property space. So, let's jump straight into the episode. Enjoy.
Hi everyone, I'm Belinda Smith from Renovate and Real Estate, and today as a guest on my podcast, and this goes to YouTube as well, More Than Renovating is the title, and the reason that's the title is that I think that there's so much more to renovating than just the property. It is all about the human spirit and the human journey. So today with me, I have Helen Geale. How are you?
I'm great. Belinda, how are you?
I'm really, really well. And we were just talking before, you've done some property and some bits and pieces and some things that I'm actually not aware of. So I'll be finding out for the first time, like all of our listeners, about where you're at and what drives you and all those things. And so let's get into the world of Helen just a little bit. Where are you located, first of all?
I am in the Gold Coast, in Southport. In Queensland.
Queensland. Single, married, divorced?
Divorced as of the 13th of February.
Oh,
so very newly divorced. But it was a good thing for both of us. So that's it's a very happy time actually.
Yeah, that's good. Kids?
Yeah. Yes, 4 children. They are 17, three boys, 17, 15 and 13, and my daughter is 7.
Oh, how lovely.
Yeah.
And okay, so tell me about, well, like obviously I'm into renovations and property, renovations being one of our leading strategies. Tell me about your property journey or what brought you to work with me inside Renovation Mastery.
Well, I started property in my 20s. My dad was an avid owner builder, and so I only ever knew building new houses, but I always saw that he turned a profit, so it was always in the back of my mind. But the necessity was really what drove it for me to get into this area, because I had just moved from Sydney to be with my boyfriend in Townsville. And I could see that I needed to, with a few things that happened, I could see that I needed to be more financially independent. And at the time I was just a receptionist. I was a very good receptionist, actually. I had bought myself a car on my 30th birthday, brand new car, and I was so proud of it. But when I got to Townsville, I realised that I didn't have enough to support the payments. So I said to my boyfriend at the time, I'd moved up there to be with him, that I was having trouble with the payments. And instead of him saying, "Oh, that's okay, I'll help you out," he said, "Oh, you should sell it." So I'm thinking, I've just bought this car, I can't afford it, he's not going to help me out. Okay, I really need to make sure that I can do this on my own. So I then got a full-time job. I ended up with 3 jobs, and I said to my dad, I need to buy a house. So the cheapest place I knew, and I grew up in Tasmania, was Tasmania. So he flew down with me. $5,000 he gave me, and we bought a house. And the very next day I was petrified, because I bought it for $124,000. How on earth am I going to pay it off? So I nearly cancelled the contract. The house is pretty sound and rented well. And I left it for a while, but it had the old, those beautiful old kitchen cabinets that weren't fixed to the wall, the ones with the plates and the cutlery and the cups and saucers, and that was the kitchen. So a couple of years later, what was interesting though was the next year it went up really quickly. So it went up about 200,000 or 300,000 in about 2 years.
Can you remember what year did you buy then? Can you remember?
That would have been about 2001-ish.
Yeah, you're right, because 2003-4 it was really peaked by then. So
so when I look back, I should have probably just sold it, because it would have been I held on to it for 10 years. But in in that way, like, swings and roundabouts, and things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
But I did hold on to it for 10 years, and it didn't go up in value, but I renovated it, and it was really pretty, and it was a lovely old character home in a great suburb. So I didn't lose any money. Actually made some money in the end, but it was remote, so I was doing everything remotely, and I found that a bit of a struggle, because my idea about what a kitchen should look like was a little bit different to theirs. And so when he said, this includes the whole kitchen, I expected a bench top in the middle, like as in an island.
An island bench, yes.
Yes, but apparently that wasn't included. And so I got to learn about communication through that process, and being really clear.
Yeah.
So that's start. I could keep talking.
No, keep talking. All right. So that was your first one, and you managed a remote renovation. You learnt along the way.
Yeah.
And you're so right about communication and making clear instructions so people know what you want, and so you're not disappointed.
Yeah.
So and then what happened after that?
Okay, so I held on to that property for quite a while, and then I had my first baby in 2006, and we moved to Mackay, and by that stage I was right into it. I was doing looking for open homes every weekend. I really got to get more property.
Yeah.
And my husband at the time was a bit overwhelmed by my enthusiasm, and but he came along, and he was a good support. We didn't buy anything then. I had my second baby. We then moved to Newcastle, where I loved it there. And I did the same thing, looking for property. He's still not ready. Okay. And then we moved I decided that we had to have a house on the Gold Coast, because that's where my family was. So I've got 3 babies by now. They're all under 3.5. So 3 under 3.5. So it was pretty full on. I had no family. So we moved back to the Gold Coast. But before we did, I had a look at exactly where I wanted to be. There's this street called Hillview Parade in Ashmore, and I absolutely loved it because I'm from the country. We had farming land, and it was a 1 acre block within 5 k's of the CBD. So it was a great location. Never thought I could afford to live in there. No, all those beautiful big homes. And about 10 years before, it was one of the areas I used to walk up and down and go, oh, one day, wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I watched this property. It was marketed, I think, for $1.6 million. And way out of the price range. No way. So then it went down to 1.35. I'm still watching it. Made some inquiries, and the agent was like, "Nah." I said to him, "Would they take $1 million?" And he said, "No." Okay, that's fine. So I left it for a little bit longer, and then I said, "Look, we're really serious about this property." And my husband said, "We can't afford it. It's only rich people live there." And I went, "Okay, well, we'll see." So he said, "Go down and see it. Go and have a look at it." So I went and had a look. So I flew down from Newcastle to the Gold Coast, had a look. There were 2 properties on acre blocks. This one was far superior. And so I said, my dad was with me, and before I left, I asked my husband exactly what we could really stretch to, and he gave me this figure, and I offered it. I went, "Oh, look, I don't know." The next day, I actually went home to Newcastle, and I started packing. I knew that we'd got it, even though it was way below what they were asking. And the agent said, "Look, they're really wanting to move." So yes, they've decided to, I kind of played a bit of a game where I don't think I like that property better because it's closer to not really that settled on this property. I'm not, I'm still keeping my options open. Yeah, exactly. And then he called and said, yes, they'll accept the price. And I went, oh my God, that's amazing. I said, I'm already packed, ready to go.
So exciting, so good.
So I'm so convinced about manifesting. That's just happened so many times to me, things like that, where you just know that this property is yours.
You can feel it in your loins, I always
absolutely say. There's no doubt. So that's where we got to with that one, and we were just going to sit on it. And of course, when we got into it, the carpet smelled of doggy, and this happened and that happened, and we ended up tidying it up a little bit, and then it got to the point where it was too bad. It was maintenance, and
Yes.
we looked for another property, couldn't find anything that we loved. We then had 4 children, and so we decided we would renovate it. It's in a very high-end area, so I went for high-end finishes, really didn't consider budget, which was not a good idea in hindsight. I just wanted it beautiful, and it was the concrete, the white, the wood, all the trendy things that are happening right now and prior to. So it was right on point. However, because it was such a big property, the market isn't that big in that price range.
Got it.
And it does take a lot of care, and it does take a lot of money to look after a property that big.
Yeah.
So my husband was very stressed around that, and I think probably led to the demise part of it, of our relationship. But in saying that, it just, I don't know. It's interesting how it all pans out. But my dad always says, "Oh, you shouldn't have renovated," but we would not have got the price that we did had I not renovated.
Had you not renovated, because other people would have walked in there and just identified that there was a lot to do.
Yes,
and they would have offered a lower amount because of that. So,
yes, and also, and knowing the market was really important, because most of the properties that were not new were getting knocked over. So ours wasn't new, and we renovated it, and the people who had the most interest were pitching their offers low because they just wanted the land.
Wow.
They were going to knock over my brand new renovation.
Yeah. Well, developers are doing it here all day long. They're actually, there was a house, I couldn't believe it was about 7 years old, and it was on a corner block. Developers just knocked it over, rebuilt, and built a few townhouses on that same lot. I couldn't believe it, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, even my painter, he was saying that he painted this house. The people weren't really very happy with the finish, and it wasn't to do with his painting. It was because of what was underneath, and he got some, I think it was QBAA involved, one of them, and they said, "Yes, you're fine. You did exactly what you should have done. This property can't be any better than what it is." And he was so stressed about the process, the legal process, that he gave the money back to the man, and they knocked it over in 2 weeks, and he was devastated because he's done all this work and he was so stressed. So I really feel for our trades. That's probably one of the things that I am really careful about now. I think when I first did that renovation, that big renovation, I didn't really understand, and they would say to me, "Oh, you don't understand how the building trade works," when I was really demanding about certain things. And in hindsight, at the time I was offended, but in hindsight, there was probably things that I should have been a lot more flexible on.
Especially before Christmas, you'll hear the way people ride tradies, like they just want their job completed before Christmas. Now, what they forget is tradies are people who are under the same just before Christmas pressures, which means that, their kids have got their dance concerts on, or their school presentation days on, or they have all of these social things tucked in amongst having or trying to work those extra hours to finish all of these client projects, who are being very demanding in that, I need it done before Christmas because all the family's coming. So it's really easy to forget, God bless our poor tradies, that they are human and that they have lives and families at the other end. So I love the way, even right from the start of this conversation, Helen, you're very self-aware in that you understand that you've learned a lot. Like, you've learned a lot along the way. There are things that you wouldn't do twice in that Tasmanian house, things that you do differently with trades. And I think in the renovation and property building space, I actually think we never stop learning. There's always something.
Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes think that, you think you've got it all together and you have your plans and your way of how you do things and how you expect other people to do things. But in the grand scheme of things, this is a space of flexibility and problem solving, and that's what I love about it, the creativity in that space, because you can be doing your flow, and that's fine, but then all of a sudden something will happen and you go, oh, okay. And I just just in this renovation that I'm doing now, I've been able to I deliberately didn't buy the bench tops. Normally I go, okay, kitchen, bench top, da 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 da.
Yeah.
But I deliberately didn't do it because I wanted to see how my flow would be, and having that break between getting the kitchen in and the bench top, I was able to go, okay, so where's my budget at? What's my goals?
Yes.
Have a talk to a few more people. What does this area really need? And instead of going for stone, which I absolutely love and I'm obsessed on, it's like an art piece to me. And I still did get a price on it.
Yeah.
I've actually gone for wood because it's it may not be where the kitchen will eventually be.
Yeah.
I can reuse the cabinets,
Yes.
but I really just need a cheap bench top.
Yeah.
So this is, I suppose, the absolute opposite of what I've been in before, where I've gone for all high-end stuff, Italian tiles, semi-polished, 4-meter marble bench top, you know, all the mod cons, to a very beautiful, pared down, comfortable home that I can relax in. Yeah, and I can have fun with it too. Like there's I felt really, at the end of that other renovation, I felt quite stale. Like there's the wood, the white, the concrete, the black. Where's the personality in this?
The heart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really hoping to bring into this one. I've been to the wallpaper, affordable decorators I went to yesterday. She's given me some beautiful wallpaper books, and just got some samples. And because the walls are not, they can't be finished perfectly, I'm going to decorate or disguise some of it with wallpapers.
Fantastic.
And I'm just really excited about what I can achieve in that space, because I haven't done wallpaper before. So I'm really excited about doing that.
Who's going to apply it? Are you going to have a go?
I have tried it once with some cheap catch of the day type. Catch of the day and my Geale type. And it blistered, and my daughter went, oh Mum, that's beautiful. I'm like, yeah, but you know, I ended up taking it down. So I think professionally I'll get a price first. They said something like $35 a square meter to lay. That seems like almost floor kind of prices, but maybe that's okay for a small amount.
If you can find an 80-year-old who's willing to do it,
true,
an old DIYer, they will do that without any issues at all. My dad,
because they're so experienced,
put up wallpaper without a problem. They'd match the pattern, they put it up, because that's what they did a lot of
back then.
50s, 60s.
Yeah, well, this house is 1950s, so that would be perfect. I need an older person.
Yeah, everybody
Great
else,
idea.
we just hire one of those young tradies who charge a lot now, because it's a bit of a fine art.
Yes. Yeah, well, my dad's probably got a lot of links, because he's a Vietnam veteran and he goes to have coffee with those guys. So there's probably one in that group that could help me out there.
Go to the local men's shed and say, excuse me, does anybody remember how to hang wallpaper? If I help you, can you come help me do it?
Oh, that would be incredible. I'd love to upskill too. If I can learn a bit, then that's perfect. Thank you for that suggestion.
No, that's right. It's great fun, but it can be frustrating.
Yes.
And when it folds back on itself and little things like that, it's frustrating when it costs so much these days as well.
Yeah, $4.50 a roll, they said, for I thought they said wouldn't be 100 meters, must be 10 meters by 60. Very skinny panels.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not cheap, but if it's for a small area, I think it's worth it. And that's another thing. I think that if you can buy some expensive things in small quantities, it goes a long way for the effect in your reno.
Yeah, that's the way. I was talking to a lady doing a very high-end renovation in Sydney in the city, and she said her favourite room was the room with the $30 floor tiles. She just chose them. She fell in love with them, chose them, almost didn't choose them because they were $30 a square metre, and she felt like the place deserved better. But the finish is extraordinary and the tiles are gorgeous. So that's her favourite bathroom, and it's nice to her because she's got very high end, believe me, throughout the place. So,
well, it's about what appeals to you, isn't it? And your eye and trusting your gut. It doesn't be the price. It's what you, I mean, people can spend a lot of money on rubbish. So to find something that's special in that price range, good on her.
Yeah, and put it together really, really well. That's the key. And for the really expensive tiles or wallpaper, just like you said, use it in places that are going to create a bit of a wow, but aren't going to an arm and a leg, use them a bit more sparingly. So yay, haven't you come a long way from the first price doesn't matter to renovation?
This is a really good challenge for me. I love it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
And so with this house, this is an interesting one. This was the one. Okay, so to sell our other house, we sold it under valuation.
Yep.
It was valued at 3 million in the end by a valuer.
Yeah.
We got 2,750 for it, which is still okay, and we still made a decent profit. So I wasn't worried about the price. But sometimes, I guess, depending on your situation, this is when we were separating. Sometimes you've got to cut and run.
Yeah.
And I think that's where some people can get a bit worried about dropping the price too much. Even if you've made a small profit, it's okay, because the next project you're going to be so much more careful about choosing and how you're going to manage that. So for me, it's about the money, but it's not about the money, if you know what I mean.
No, and it's about saying, okay, this is final. You go your way, I'll go my way. It's like the finality of it all, having to communicate with each other all of the time over something that you still have in common, which is property. So I understand that. There's a famous guy in the property space, Steve McKnight, is still around. And I remember I did hit one of his education programs in about 2003. And I remember him saying, I only made 15,000 on that property, but a win's a win, a profit is a profit. And I'll be happy with that 15 because you're moving along and doing the next thing. And when you think about it, 15,000 in a day job in after-tax earnings is not a bad thing. It's not a bad extra.
Absolutely. And you've chosen you've chosen how to use your time during that time, not somebody else choosing how you use your time.
100%. So a win's a win, and you learn along the way and keep momentum. So I'm with you. Okay, so you sold the house, and then tell me about the house with the stripy floors. Is that the next one?
No, there's one in between. So there's another story about that. So my husband was worried that I would keep the house. So he refused to leave without me leaving too.
Okay.
So we had to buy a house that fitted all of us in. So we sought out a house that was near the school, came up straight away, dual living. So we bought this house. We did the bare minimum to it, but it was his house. I said to him, I don't want to have any more financial things with you, finished. So he bought it in his name. It was still in the property pool. So that had 2 kitchens, one up, one down, 1 bathroom up, one down, separate toilets, 4 bedrooms up, 3 bedrooms down. So we were living him up, me down, and the kids would go 50-50 between the levels.
Mate, if it works, what a nice honestly, what a nice transition for the kids.
Yes.
If you guys go your separate ways.
Yes, it was the best solution.
Yeah.
As soon as we walked in, I just went, yep, it's not Taj Mahal, but it works for what we need right now. And it gets us out of that house to be able to sell it.
Yes.
So that's what we did. This one was a lady who had a child on the way, and the mother lived downstairs. And I've got a feeling that maybe there was a bit of tension between some parties. And because when I saw it advertised, it was advertised as auction within 3 weeks.
Oh,
so to me, that was a very tight time frame.
Yes. Someone needed to go fast.
Yeah. So I said to Danny, look, really got to get on this right now. And from what you kind of gathered before, he's not a fast instant.
Yeah.
And that's me. So I said, you have to get this finance sorted right now. And I'm already on the phone organising for Peston Building to get done. We haven't even seen the house yet.
Yeah.
So I rang the agent straight after that, and I said, look, we can arrange to get a pest and building done on Monday. This was on Friday. He goes, I said, could we see it earlier? And he said, no, it has to be Saturday. Okay, so I get in there on Saturday, look around. Yep, this looks good. It's in a really good location. It's close to the uni, close to the high school. My kids walk across the street to school. And I said, look, these people must be desperate. We're going to just, and I said to the agent, look, what will buy this property? And he said, look, I've been a bit wrong lately, because that was when that was 2001, not quite sure what's happening. And I said, okay, well, what would you think? He said, oh, look, I said 665, and he goes, yeah, 665. So we put in a contract, unconditional 665, and they came back with a 670 offer, which, because that was going to be their, what's that called? Reserve price at the auction. So signed, done deal. And then we had to get scared about him not having finance approved yet.
I've actually bid at an auction without finance approved, and we stopped. Like, I looked at Brett and he looked at me, and we both went, we're
out of here.
This is getting a little bit stressful.
So that was that. And so we got it over the line, and we got it repainted downstairs, a couple of screens done, very minimal work. Within 6 months, it was 900,000. We knew that we'd bought it way under price. And so me thinking that I wouldn't be living in there anymore. I was trolling the area, because this is great. The kids can walk to school. My daughter it's much easier to get from her to school to home. So I'm trolling the area, looking for another property. And I've come from big land. So I knew that the kids were finding it difficult on a very small block, a 506 square meter block. So where I wanted to be, I looked on the plans, where's the biggest land with the best aspect. And there was one block, 933 square meters, about 4 blocks away from my current house. Old lady, I was watching her come in and out, and I thought, I said to my son, that's the property that I want. That's the one I need. This was a good 12 months ago. And because I didn't have a house, Danny was going to have that house, right or wrong. He was not going to let me have it. I then was thinking, every time I walked past and I saw her, that I'd go across the road and I'd say to her, I really want to buy your house. And you can live in it for as long as you want to. But I just really need to secure that house. But I never did. I never got and I didn't have the money either at that point. So when everything finalized in May, I was ready, but I was looking, and my dad had found a really good unit, because for the amount of money I had, you cannot buy a house here. You can't. So I went to look at a unit and liked it, loved the aspect. My mother-in-law can manage it, so because she's doing the same, and they've done exactly the same thing. They live in a unit, they've rented out, and it's very, very lucrative. So I think, yep, okay, I can do that. I get them to send me the contract, and we go on a 3-day cruise to Brisbane and back. My kids and I, we go, oh, okay, let's go cruise, because my daughter's all about cruises, loves a cruise. So on the way home from the cruise, I drive past this property, and there's a big auction sign out the front. And I'm like, no, you're kidding. So I actually had signed the contract on the unit. So I quickly rang the agent. I said, I'm really sorry, but this has happened. And she goes, well, do you want to hold on to it? And I said, well, can you just give me a few days and we'll just see?
The cooling off was, you were really cooling off on the cooling off.
Exactly, cooling off period. So I then called the agent straight away for the auction house, and she said, oh, is it online already? I didn't think we'd gone live yet. I said, oh, look, I have no idea. I'm just standing out the front of that house right now with this auction sign on it, with your name on it. So I called it. And she goes, oh, okay. And I said, well, can I come and see it tomorrow? And she goes, oh, I'll have to talk to somebody and find out. Yes, I got in there the next day. So it hadn't really gone live yet. And I walked through, and I was thinking of my budget and how much I had. And I said, look, for the amount of work that has to be done, I'll offer $630, because it's probably about $100,000 could have easily been spent, and that was kind of around my budget. So I told them that. They said, look, it's not going to go over the line. That's not going to stop the auction, but we will call you if their owners are close to signing the contract. So I waited about 4 or 5 days later, and they called me and said the owners are very, very keen. The lady had just moved out. She was 94, mind you, and an avid gamer.
Yeah,
She was a gamer. Good on her. Such a great story. So she's been living in here forever. Yeah, exactly. In this 1950s house forever. So they really wanted to move her into a more suitable accommodation because she was starting to have some health issues.
Yeah.
So they'd already moved her, and they wanted to have a quick sale to be able to support that move. So I said to them, I was thinking, you know, my dad and I had a big conversation around this, and I said, Dad, it's got to go for over 900. It's a, you know, big land, sought after property, got to go 2 stories. It's going to have a massive view of the Broadwater. So, and long term, you could potentially subdivide it because a lot of them are 400 to 500 square meters. So lots and lots and lots and lots ticks in the box. Yeah. 900 to $1 million easy was my kind of thinking. So way out of my budget. And so they rang me and they said they were close to signing. Do you have any other offers? And I said, look, I'll talk to my dad and see what happens. And I just sat there and had a think, and I thought, okay, these are all the things that are so good about this property. Can I push it up a little more? So I actually offered 100,000 more. 730,000 was my top.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she rang me about half an hour later and said, you've got the property. I was like, oh, are you kidding? Yeah. No way. So I was so gobsmacked. Yeah. But that's what I mean about manifesting. I had my eye on this property for 12 months. I'd done all the research. I knew that there was a sewerage line down the back. I knew exactly where it was, how it could impact future development of the property, and it gave me land for my kids to run, land for my dogs. So in the real right time right now, it's perfect for me in what I need, and I just need to spend the bare minimum to get it into it, live in it, love it,
be comfortable.
Until it's time to move on. And in the meantime, I have rented upstairs to some international students.
Great.
And so I'm getting income from upstairs in my other house while I've been renovating and moving it. And they gave me early access. So as soon as I signed the contract, they gave me early access. So I got to paint it, do the floors before Christmas.
Fantastic.
So massive. And that's the other thing about our trades too. I make sure I pay them fairly and no begrudging. Like the 2 guys, there's 2 guys here at the moment putting a wardrobe together for me because the panels are so big. They worked 2 days in that really stinking heat to put my kitchen together. And they could have just said, no, it's too hot. But they know that I need to get into this house as soon as I can. So they do it. And I just appreciate that they are willing to do that. If it was me, I'd probably go, no way. I can't move out of the air conditioning today. That's it. But they will. I think it's a guy thing too. Guys will want to please a woman. That's kind of what it's all about. And I really value that they will do that to help you out.
Yeah, I think kindness goes a long way from both sides. Them and them to you, I think.
Well, I always say to them, if they undercut or they say, oh, I'll reduce the price, they say, well, are you going to make money out of this? You need to be looking after you and your family first. And I'm not here to rip you off. So even if you want this job, I want to make sure that you're okay.
So they would work for you again in a heartbeat. Or say something happened where they did something that doesn't look so good or didn't go so well, you guys would be able to have a very decent conversation about that, about the quality of work or whatever. Because you have a relationship that is beyond, you just being a cranky client and them feeling like they need to just suck it up and do the work. And
they don't want to come back. Who would want to come back to that environment? A prime example was just the other day, there were 2 odd handles for the kitchen.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I went, oh, I hope this is right. We've put these on your pantry cupboard. I went, oh, they're not the right ones, but that's okay. It's in a slightly different space and they're the same color. It works. It's okay. Whereas I think before, when I was doing my pristine reno, I would have been gone, oh my God, those handles, they have to match.
Making decisions like you can make and rolling with the punches a little bit makes, that's why people can do renovating over and over again. And some people completely freak out because they're just so completely absorbed in every little moment of it, every little detail. It's exhausting and pleasant. So yeah, good on you. And I think that comes with experience.
I think so too.
And having lots of other things that we have to deal with. So all of that.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. And I really think that this is my pathway. I'm a teacher by trade, but it's never really been my passion. And money and deals is all I saw my dad do. And I really, he would even go to the shop and he'd go, we're going to get some runners. So we go into runners, he tries them on, he goes, can you do any better price than that? They say, yeah, we can get you 10% off or whatever. Have you got any socks you can throw in with that? Oh, actually, I think I've run out of shoe polish. Can you chuck that in too?
That is
and I used to be embarrassing as a kid. Exactly, and that's what I learned. And it's just saying that with my Bunnings order today, I left the bench tops to the very last minute. Yesterday, I decided I need to get water into this place again because they've cut off all the water. So I rang Bunnings yesterday. I did an order online, said between now and Saturday. I said, oh, can I just confirm that it's going to come tomorrow? I said, oh, no, it won't be till Saturday. We're fully booked. But I will ask the manager. And so, because I had my tradies here today and I only had about 2 or 3 hours work. So I rang them and just said, oh, is there any possibility of getting it here today? And they went, oh, we'll see what we can do. 7 o'clock this morning, it was delivered.
Oh, fantastic.
So you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah.
And there's, you just never know. You put it out there. And I think this all extends further out. Like this is another story that happened to me the other day. I was walking on my normal walk and I saw this fellow sitting next to a telephone booth naked. This is at 7 o'clock in the morning on the Gold Coast.
I don't even know how to respond, Helen.
I know.
Okay, and how old was he? Going to be my first.
Well, he looked in his 40s or 50s, and he had, like the Rodin statue pose like this going on. And I initially thought, oh my God, I'm not going anywhere near that. So I started to move across the park.
Yeah.
And then I thought, that is odd. Like it was cold that morning too. It's been really hot. It's really cold and this blustery wind was coming through. And I thought that's not right. So I decided to go, okay, go with your heart this time. Normally I just go, nah, not having anything to do with this. Yeah. I walked up to him and I said, are you okay? And he went, oh, I said, I'm really sorry. I'm here, I am sitting naked. And I said, oh, look, it's all right. Is there anything that I can do to help you? Because something doesn't feel right to me with what's happening. And he had a brace on his ankle and crutches and he was naked. So it just didn't add up. And I said to him, what's going on? And he goes, oh, some homeless person stole my stuff. It's got my medication. He said he's homeless. Yeah. It's got my medication and all my clothes. And he said, I did get drunk last night and I fell asleep in the park and I woke up and all my stuff's gone. I've just rung the ambulance, but that was half an hour ago and they're not here. I told them what happened and they're not here. And I'm here. People are walking past me, driving past me. Nobody's saying, he said, I'm just so embarrassed. Yeah. And he was able to really vocalize what was going on for him. And I said, look, I'll go and have a look in the car and see if I've got something. So I went over there and I had an old Broncos jersey that was going to Vinnie's and a dog blanket that was full. It was washed and cleaned, but had like dog paw prints on it. So I took those over to him and he kind of clung to them and he wrapped the dog blanket around his waist and he put the jumper on. And he just said, thank you. He said, yeah, it was pretty embarrassing just sitting here. He was actually in his undies. He wasn't fully naked. He was in his undies. But and then I watched him for a bit longer, and I said like, for me, I would have picked him up and taken him to the hospital, but I had my son there too. And I said to my son when he got into the car, are you okay if I ask him if he'd like a ride to the hospital? And he said, no, I don't feel safe enough. I said, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't invite him into the car if you weren't safe. So we didn't, but I just felt there's a big hole in that homeless area. And I would really like to do something for accommodation. I'm working in this space all the time. And there's got to be some way. I know there's so many different strategies for affordable housing, like doing a big house with rooming houses and all that stuff, but there's a big hole. And I mean, some people might like living on the streets. I know that sounds stupid, but some people do like to live that way. But that's probably, I was just thinking about, there was a question that was posed about what would be next, and I think that working in that space could be something that might be the next step for me.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, because I'm the person that walks past all these people.
2 hands up. I support you.
Thank you.
I can help. Yeah, because it is, well, I mean, we're desperately undersupplied with accommodation as it is. And I guess I've worked with a lot of people too who've had addiction issues and mental health issues while I was in the police. Like we've taken people to and from the street to either one of the facilities. Back in the day, it was a mental facility. They don't even have those anymore. You take them to hospital, and then half the time they're signed out and heading out before you even fill out the paperwork and get your police truck back on the street. That's just the way it is. But we don't deal very well with people, and we certainly don't offer comfort, and we don't offer healing. And so, you know, some people will return to the streets because that's what they know. Other people are desperate for help, and there's just not anything out there that can help them long term, you know. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Well, good on you. And and here's the policewoman in me. I'm so glad you didn't put him in the back of your car, because he could have had a lot of things than you know.
Well, that's what I said to my son. It might have been like a Hannibal Lecter situation where he gets in the back of the car and bites my ear off or something.
Oh, you had no idea. that was so I'm glad you can cover up a bit more and keep the wind chill out, but putting him in the back of the car is a totally different thing. So, all right, so we're off topic here, but we're not really. Because in the end, you know, renovating and living is what we do to support ourselves. And moving forward, it's really nice that you've got your eyes on perhaps doing something in the space that is going to work where you work.
Yeah, well, I found that it was way too stressful trying to get my children to school, going, because when I'm a school teacher, I have to start when they get to school. I'm supposed to be there. So actually getting there, preparing, getting all the stuff done, trying to teach well, coming back to pick them up straight away. There was too much guilt sitting in that space, and being able to step away from that. I haven't worked in the teaching area for 2 years now. And from the point of view of everybody outside, I'm not working. You can see all the stuff that I'm doing and hear all the stuff that I'm organising. Actually, a project manager, thank you very much, but just not getting paid right now. And I think there's so much or lack of value, I guess, in being there for your kids, parenting. Plumber, I had a argy-bargy with the other day. Not really, but I've worked with him for many, many years, and he said to me, he couldn't, he told me that he was available at any time. So I said, are you able to come this week? Oh, I'm busy. Okay, so I got another quote, and I sent it to him by text, which I don't know if that's okay or not, but I said, this is how much somebody else has estimated. And he called me straight away and he said, are we doing quotes now? and I said, don't give me curry about this, honestly. And he goes, I've been out to your property during my annual leave, and the other day I spent 2 hours, and I thought, you haven't spent 2 hours, maybe 3/4 of an hour all up. And he said, you've got to pay me for those hours. I don't work for free. And I said, that's fine, but are you seriously talking to me about that now before the job? I said, I didn't ask you about that. I said, can you do better than this quote? That was my question to him.
You hurt his
And
feelings by sending
yeah,
somebody
by
else's
sending him a
quote,
quote.
Helen.
Yeah, I know. And
Don't do that
and
again.
I said, oh, look, I can't deal with it. I've got to pick up my daughter. So I
Yeah.
hung up, and he rang
Yeah.
me again, and I didn't answer. And then
Yeah.
he texted me and he said, I don't know why you're so rude. Like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
How was I rude? And it's just soured our relationship a little bit. We have come back from these things before. But I think we just need a bit of time out. But I was really surprised at his reaction, and I paid him for his 2 hours because, you know, I said, but
So
I don't get paid for my 2 hours that I've spent
in
over
your
here.
mind, in your mind, you're like, he can really identify whether this guy's quoting me too much, and he can't do the job on time anyway, so he won't mind me getting a quote from somewhere else. In his mind, he's like, oh, Helen was very quick to find someone else. She's just replaced me. That's what he was thinking.
Yeah. And I said, look, you know, you might be wanting to charge me 10,000. I don't know what your plan is for this, because the quote was 4,000 or something.
Yeah.
And it's quite funny how everybody has a quick story made up straight away from just a one text sentence.
Yeah, they do. So how has working with our community helped you with little things like that?
Well, it's a good sounding board. There's so much experience that is within this group. And like the other day, house leveling, I've never leveled a house, never had experience with that, or raising a house. So putting that out there to say, hey, I've never leveled a house before. What's likely to happen? I think I put on there that I was expecting the roof to all be broken.
The walls to collapse.
Exactly. All the paintwork damage that's just been done. And there was reassurance in there that it's not likely to happen, and to know that it's okay. And I even said to the guys before they started, I'm really nervous about what's going to happen today. And the guy was really careful. He came in and he was inside the house while they were working underneath, and he checked every space that they were working in as we went round. So I was really impressed that they took that care. And I ended up with a really good result. So that's good. But working with this community is great for ideas, sounding boards, problem solving, reassurance too, that everything's going to be okay.
Which I loved. I love the character in that floor. And when
well, it's come up beautifully.
It's gorgeous. A good natural timber floor is beautiful. So I know you were asking questions about that as well. What's on for the rest of 2023?
Okay, so I think that I'm looking towards getting a license for my other property to make it a boarding house, because it's so suitable as a boarding house or a rooming house. 7 bedrooms, 2 kitchens, a bit of yard out the back. It suits students, people who may be displaced from homes, and I can make it rent affordable for them. So that ticks that box in my what do you call that when you I can't remember the word.
Little bucket list?
I guess so. My heart space.
That's great.
And finishing this, I'd like to put a deck on if I've got enough money. And just settling down, because I tend to be very fast paced, and especially when I'm in this space of reno. And that's one of the questions that you asked was along the lines of, what do I get out of it? And I love being creative. I love the pace. I love the being able to pivot from this idea to that idea. Like, I listen to everybody, and then I listen to my gut, and then have I got enough information? Okay, I'm going with my gut, or my gut said this, but this person's a little bit more experienced than me. Okay, I will investigate that a bit further, and generally I'll switch to them, or it all works out. But I think the more information that you have, the better your end result will be.
Brilliant. We'll finish it on that note. Thank you, Helen. All the best with finishing the project that you're on. I can actually hear tradies in the background. I love that.
Sorry, yes, they're putting the wardrobe together.
I love that sound. That's fantastic. Thank you for joining me today. Look, this is all about a personal journey, and I appreciate you being really open with your property and your relationship and all that kind of stuff, because I know that there's plenty of people out there who relate. There are a lot of single women in our group who've had to get on their own 2 feet and go and do something for themselves, and renovation is a beautiful way to move forward independently, financially, and also for the joy and the fulfillment.
Absolutely, making that's being able to recognise a space as being not great right now, but you can make it something special.
Yeah.
And my kids, I find it quite funny because they come in and they go, "Oh my God, Mum, we're not living in that."
So do I.
And then they come in and they go, "Oh, can I stay here tonight?"
Yeah, that's it. Oh,
this is nice.
no, my kids always say, you move us from a perfectly beautiful home into I'll say it, even though it's on the podcast, I can bleep out my own word, shitter. You move us from a really good home, Mum, into a shitter. I go, yep, we do. And
Now, the other day, my son had a sleepover and the parents would come to the front and they'd drive past and they'd ring me and say, "Oh, is this the right address?" Because the kids call it the crack house. It looks disgusting from the outside. But
well, my kids, when they're at school in one particular house, their friends used to call our house the shitter. So they're saying, "Are we going to my place or we're heading to the shitter?" Like, it was so funny. Anyway, wasn't that way for long.
All these stories, all these extra stories we give them.
I know. Brilliant. Thanks so much, Helen.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Belinda.